In the pre-dawn stillness of Willow Creek Lane, where white picket fences stand like silent sentinels and every perfectly manicured lawn whispers of suburban order, one man's peaceful inheritance ignites a quiet war that threatens to shatter the neighborhood's facade of harmony. This is the story of how an unsuspecting prop maker turned builder of disasters used Hollywood-grade ingenuity to confront a tyrant in pearls, proving that sometimes the only way to protect your home is to build something that simply can't be broken. Patrick Morgan awoke just before dawn, the familiar hush of Willow Creek Lane wrapping him like a blanket. In the distance, a lone street light flickered, its glow casting long shadows across the dewy grass. 3 months had passed since Patrick had moved into his grandparents' house, a charming ranch built in the late 1960s, seeking refuge from Hollywood's frantic pace. By day, he crafted mechanical props and special effects for blockbuster sets. By night, he reveled in the quiet life his grandparents had loved. On this particular morning, however, serenity dissolved in an instant. At exactly 5:58 a.m., headlights cut through his bedroom curtains, followed by a thunderous impact. Patrick leapt to his feet, heart pounding, as the sickening crunch of metal against metal echoed down the street. Through the slivered blinds, he saw a sleek black SUV reverse at full tilt, leaving his freshly restored mailbox mangled beyond recognition. The vehicle disappeared around the corner without a backward glance, as if nothing had happened. Patrick's pulse raced. The mailbox, a modest white post designed to match every neighbor's, had stood unaltered for 30 years. He'd just replaced it the day before, painstakingly aligning the aluminum box to the exact height stipulated by the HOA, 42 inches from the curb. Yet here it lay, contorted into a grotesque knot. His first instinct was disbelief. "It must be a prank," he murmured, pulling on jeans and a jacket. He grabbed his phone, dashed outside, and crouched beside the wreckage. Metal shards glinted in the pre-dawn gloom. The post was sheared clean at its base. No skid marks on the pavement, no dents on the nearest parked car, only the ruin of his mailbox. The neighborhood lay silent. Houses sat like untouched dioramas, their shutters closed. No spectators emerged from garages or porches to witness the aftermath. It was as if the assault had occurred in an alternate reality. Patrick spent the day reassembling the mailbox. He measured twice, drilled once, and secured the post in fresh concrete. On his way to the hardware store, he hadn't once imagined a repeat performance. Yet when he finished the installation, he scarcely had time to wipe his hands before a polite knock resonated at his door. He opened it to find Regina Bell, the HOA president, standing on his porch. Regina was the embodiment of suburban authority. Pearls draped around her neck, her blonde hair coiffed into an immaculate bob, and a gold HOA badge pinned to her tailored blazer. Behind her hovered Jacob Shaw, the vice president, his clipboard trembling in one hand. "Oh my goodness, Patrick," Regina began, voice smooth as silk. "I heard about your mailbox incident. Are you all right?" She peered past him, as if verifying his residence, then tilted her head in concern. Patrick invited them in. Regina's smile never reached her eyes as she surveyed his living room, family photographs, film posters, tools lining the workshop shelf. "We just want our new residents to feel welcome," she said. "But also to understand that we have standards. Community harmony depends on compliance." Jacob nodded vigorously, presenting a thick HOA regulations booklet. Its pages bulged with fine print clauses, mailbox specifications, landscaping guidelines, surveillance policies, an alphabet soup of bureaucratic authority. Regina leafed through it with feigned interest, then handed it to Patrick with a glint of triumph in her eye. "Please review this before installing any external equipment," she said. "We wouldn't want any privacy issues." She left without another word, Jacob following like a nervous shadow. Patrick watched them go, unease settling into his chest. The first crash had felt random, this visit felt calculated. 2 weeks later, the collision recurred with uncanny precision. At 5:58 a.m. on an overcast Monday, the same black SUV barreled into his replacement mailbox. This time, Patrick was ready. He'd mounted a basic security camera on the garage eave, its lens aimed at the street. As the impact rattled his windows, he sprinted to the monitor inside. The footage revealed chilling deliberateness, the SUV easing to a near halt, the driver turning the wheel to align the bumper with the post, a moment's pause, then full acceleration. The mailbox disintegrated like a grenade's victim. Within 40 minutes, Regina arrived again, her face creased with faux sympathy. "I see you've installed a camera," she said, arms folded. "Did you obtain the appropriate HOA permit for surveillance equipment?" Patrick explained it was for property protection. Regina nodded, tucking the information away. "Cameras mustn't point towards other properties," she warned. She left him another addendum to the regulations, this one thicker, more ominous. By now, Patrick sensed a pattern. Every other Monday, same time, same angle. He'd barely interacted with Regina, 3 polite conversations at most, yet she seemed obsessed. He called his neighbor Evelyn Parker, a retired teacher with a quiet courage, and described the incidents. "They're testing you," Evelyn said gravely. "New residents get one warning. If you don't fall in line, they escalate." She produced a folder of past complaints against the Johnsons, the Rodriguez family, and a young couple who'd fled under the weight of mounting fines. "She doesn't let anyone push back." That night, Patrick lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. In Hollywood, he built explosives that looked authentic but collapsed safely on cue. He designed props that shattered on impact yet remained intact beneath the paint. The skills he'd honed for movie stunts were about to be repurposed for real-life stakes. A voice in his memory echoed his grandfather's words. "Build it right, and nothing will break." He sat up, determination igniting. Regina Bell had turned his home into target practice. Tomorrow, he would start building a mailbox that simply couldn't be broken. Over the next week, Patrick buried himself in the thick HOA manual, every clause a sesquipedalian trap designed to ensnare unsuspecting residents. Paper tigers leapt from each page. Fine structures for non-existent crimes, vague mandates like community harmony, and lines construed to grant the board absolute power. On a drizzly Tuesday morning, Jacob Shaw arrived with another violation notice slung over his clipboard like a gauntlet. "Grass height exceeded by 0.2 inches, he squeaked, avoiding Patrick's gaze. $75 fine, payable within 48 hours. Patrick measured his lawn, exactly 3 inches. Across the street, Mrs. Whitaker's grass towered an entire inch higher, and yet no notice adorned her front door. The message was clear: selective enforcement. Regina's next move came the following day. She summoned Patrick to a community standards consultation, which translated to a private inquisition in his living room. She perched on his sofa with regal poise, arms folded. "You operate a home workshop," she began. "Large power tools. Generator use. Have you secured the necessary business permits?" Patrick explained his remote freelance work for film studios, citing licenses and insurance. Regina's smile flickered before returning to its default sheen. "HOA rules supersede municipal codes on residential use," she intoned. "We prioritize safety and aesthetics. Non-compliance carries penalties." Her tone brooked no contradiction. By week's end, his violation total hovered near $800, each fine tailor-made to break his spirit. He contacted Evelyn again. "She's breaking you down," Evelyn said softly over tea. "Cycle of destruction. Nuisance fines, mounting financial pressure, isolation. Then eviction or forced sale." Evelyn slid him a battered camcorder. "Use this for your own records. The HOA loves unilateral power. Deny them that." Armed with Evelyn's footage and his own security tape, Patrick pursued a two-pronged strategy: meticulous documentation and subtle defiance. He erected a tasteful lawn sign, area monitored by neighborhood surveillance. Clean Helvetica, small regulatory disclaimers, a neutral design he was confident met the bylaw's aesthetic clauses. Within hours, Jacob returned, sputtering a new violation: unauthorized signage minus $500 fine. Regina called later that evening. "Your violation total is now $1,200, she reported crisply. "Continued infractions will result in a property lien." Every call dripped with cold pleasure. Every fine hammered at his resolve. Patrick's savings evaporated. The looming threat of losing his grandparents' home, a place of treasured memories, galvanized him. Then came the garden massacre. On a crisp Saturday morning, Patrick awoke to distressed crows and flattened roses. He raced outside to find Regina Bell, stilettos planted among the memorial rose beds his grandparents had cultivated for 30 years. Jacob flinched behind her as she trampled blossoms with calculated disregard. "These plants breach setback regulations," Regina declared, snapping photos. "Hazardous to pedestrian pathways." Patrick confronted her. "These aren't hazards, they're memories." She shrugged. "Rules are rules." She slapped a $300 notice on his front door, plastic smile unwavering. Patrick sank to his knees amid the crushed petals, grief and rage intertwining. The roses represented decades of Saturday afternoons spent with grandparents teaching him life's quiet joys. Regina had destroyed them on a whim, stamping her authority in mud and shattered stone. That night, Patrick scrolled through his grandfather's gardening journal, finding a dog-eared page. "Plant for tomorrow's shade." He realized that the roses had thrived through every season because of careful planning and resilient roots. He, too, needed roots strong enough to survive this storm. By Sunday's end, he drafted a blueprint for a mailbox that would defy any further attacks. A fortress made subtle, hidden beneath an innocuous exterior. It would anchor deep in reinforced concrete, cloaked in HOA-approved tin but fortified by steel. Regina's reign of terror would meet the immovable. Under the humming fluorescent lights of his garage-turned-lab, Patrick transformed schematic dreams into tangible reality. He drew cross-sectional diagrams, a hollow aluminum shell, precisely 42 inches high, encasing a 1-inch steel column bolted into a reinforced concrete footing 4 feet deep. Rebar crisscrossed like the skeleton of a skyscraper, promising unparalleled rigidity. He sourced materials from specialist suppliers: marine-grade aluminum, high-tensile steel rods, quick-setting concrete mix rated for vehicular loads. With Evelyn as lookout from next door, he dug through moonlit nights, every shovel full of earth a silent rebellion. She communicated via discreet phone flashes whenever Regina's SUV roared past. She passed at predictable times: dawn spin-ups, lunch hour surveys, sunset drive-bys. Patrick timed the critical pores between lawn mowing windows. According to the HOA manual, exterior repairs requiring soil disturbance had to be completed within 48 hours under permitted landscaping conditions. He disguised each concrete pour as garden bed restoration, plastering printed permit copies nearby and leaving safety cones at the curb. Regina's surveillance teams photographed the scene, unaware they documented compliance. As the weeks progressed, Patrick installed hidden cameras, miniature lenses concealed within faux fleur-de-lis finials and gutter downspouts, wirelessly transmitting to encrypted cloud storage. He wrote a simple script to alert his phone when vehicles heavier than 2 tons approached, ensuring he could watch the final test live. Increasingly paranoid, Regina intensified her harassment. New complaints landed daily. Excessive tool noise, $300. Decorative stone misplacement, $200. Unauthorized ornamental display, $150. She phoned him with measured courtesy, delighting in enumerating fines. Jacob arrived each morning, eyes reddened from lack of sleep, voice trembling as he posted violation notices. Patrick's mailbox pit hardened into a granite anchor. He welded the steel column into the hollow shell under UV spotlights in his garage, every bead of weld inspected with a flashlight. The final assembly looked indistinguishable from his previous mailboxes: identical design, identical paint code, even the same high-gloss sheen mandated by HOA aesthetics. The last step: a custom-designed breakaway decoy mailbox placed temporarily beside the new installation. It looked legitimate but would collapse on impact without damaging the hidden steel core, buying Patrick extra time to gather comprehensive footage and preventing premature detection. By the final Saturday, the fortress was complete. He performed a series of stress tests, driving a rented ATV into the decoy at 5 miles per hour while cameras captured audio and video. The shell bent easily, snapping off to reveal a rigid steel heart. The real mailbox remained steadfast when similarly pummeled. Neighbors noted the restoration work with curiosity. Some nodded approvingly, most averted their eyes, wary of Regina's wrath. Patrick sensed their silent fear. He'd needed Evelyn's courage. Few others dared defy the HOA queen. On Sunday night, with permits tucked into a sealed binder and cameras armed, Patrick stood outside at 11:47 p.m., surveying his creation under starlight. The street lay peaceful, unaware of the impending reckoning. He sipped strong coffee and whispered the final promise to his grandfather's memory: "This time, they'll break themselves." Monday dawned clear and cold. Patrick rose at 5:30 a.m., donned a jacket over his pajamas, and crept to the bedroom window. The street lay silent except for the distant chirp of early birds. He positioned his phone to record the hidden camera feed and texted Evelyn, "Ready?" A single thumbs-up emoji flickered back. At precisely 5:58 a.m., engine growl rolled down the pavement. Regina Bell's black SUV glided into view, headlights sweeping across the Mailbox fortress. She eased the vehicle forward, aligning the front bumper with calculated precision. Then, accelerator pressed. The collision was thunderous. Metal shrieked against metal in a symphony of destruction. Patrick's hidden cameras triggered alerts. Recordings of impact echoed in his living room, the sound bouncing off walls. A chain of hidden microphones captured the muffled hisses of airbags deploying. Moments later, neighbors poured onto their porches, phones raised like lances. Evelyn tweeted live, "HOA Queen meets her match. #Fortress Mailbox holds strong." Regina's vehicle crumpled spectacularly around the steel core. The hood folded, radiator ruptured, and fluids pooled in a rainbow sheen beneath the wreck. The Fortress Mailbox emerged unscathed, its white shell gleaming defiantly in the sunrise. Patrick stepped outside calmly, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. He approached the disabled SUV. Regina clawed at the airbag, hair disheveled, pearls dulled by dust. Her voice cracked as she screamed, "You set me up. This is illegal." Patrick raised an eyebrow. "Actually, it's built to code. Tier 1 materials, correct setbacks, approved color. Your insurance company will have questions." He gestured at the Mailbox's placard. "Reinforced structural core, engineered for vehicular impact." Jacob Shaw arrived in mid-sprint, surveyed the scene, and stopped cold. He backed away, phone already dialed. I resign," he stammered, turning heel. Within minutes, the wreck attracted news vans. Reporters clamored for interviews. "Survivor of suburban tyranny," read one banner. "HOA president's car demolished by Mailbox," proclaimed another. Online, #Mailbox revenge trended regionally, dozens of videos compiled into a mosaic of Regina's rise and fall. By evening, an emergency HOA meeting convened at the community center. Regina arrived clutching legal papers, determined to launch defamation suits and claim damages. Instead, she faced a sea of angry neighbors, each bearing stories of unjust fines and forced relocations. Evelyn presented her dossier. Documented evidence of harassment campaigns, systematic targeting, and financial ruin inflicted on the Johnsons, Rodriguez family, and others. Each testimony hammered Regina's reign into pieces more fragile than her SUV's crumpled frame. A unanimous vote stripped Regina Bell of all HOA authority. Her bylaws were rescinded, all outstanding fines reversed. Evelyn Parker was sworn in as interim president, promising common-sense governance, block parties instead of violation raids, community events instead of fear campaigns. Within days, the HOA office was flooded with repeal petitions. Former victims returned, some moving back in, others visiting to feel the sunlight on restored roses. Property values rebounded. Families flourished. 6 months later, Patrick sat in the resurrected memorial garden. Roses in full bloom, stepping stones restored, reflecting on the upheaval. A young couple approached, children trailing behind, eyes wide at the gleaming mailbox. "Could you teach us how you built it?" the father asked. Patrick smiled, glancing at the fortress standing sentinel. "It's not magic," he said. "It's just proper planning, solid materials, and a refusal to be intimidated." The children ran their fingers over the aluminum shell. "It's so smooth," one exclaimed. Patrick knelt. "Think of it as more than steel," he told them. "It's proof that good people can stand strong against bullies. Silence only lets tyranny grow. Speak up, build wisely, and sometimes, just sometimes, you'll find the strongest defense is exactly what they least expect." As the sun set over Willow Creek Lane, the Fortress Mailbox gleamed like a beacon, a permanent reminder that when a community stands together, no tyrant can withstand the power of unity and ingenuity.